All right, so interesting to see that Martin didn't win that. I was pleasantly surprised to see that, you know, the rail magnate did not crush.
It made up for the difference, like it's like pretty significantly in the higher value industry tiles.
Yeah. All right, so thoughts on, we'll start with Japan, just the map itself.
I thought it'd be tighter.
I did too.
Yeah. The fact that we really didn't head up to the brown area at all until the end of the game, and I don't know. This game would probably play out differently if we did build up there a bit more earlier, but it's not like you get that much iron out of it. One person may build some iron and then maybe refills it by overbuilding a bit. But we had plenty of iron and coal throughout the game by ships.
Yeah, I find that interesting. I thought it would be a lot more constricted than it was. Now, that could be just because it was all of our first play of it. But when I looked at this map, when I opened it up, I was like, not a lot of... This is going to be really tight. It felt like when coming into it, and it wasn't nearly as restrictive as I thought it would be. Yeah, well, the card market is so broad.
Yeah, it's so permissive. Like you can grab the cards, the location cards. Those are crucial to grab, and also use them directly from here. It gives you that flexibility. You don't have to.
I had 6.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
At the time, I had no industry cards. They were, but then the colors didn't.
I like the flexibility of being able to go up there. I feel like that kind of saved me a little bit at the end and got me.
It's nice. I think it almost feels like it's like a nicer version.
It again because
it probably needs it considering how useless the iron and coal cards are.
Fair.
Right. Yep. Yeah. If you draw into those, you're kind of screwed. Yeah.
Yeah. I have not played the base game of this, and this is coming from guy who has only ever played Brass Lancashire, but like this, I have no idea if you could actually work this into some kind of new version of Brass, or if you would even want to. But what I know about the base game is, from what I know about it, the way that they handle the ships and that kind of stuff on the board here, how you can't build a ship unless there's a port, and is that in the base game?
Yes.
Is that a thing?
Yep.
I think that's really interesting to me. I really like that. And as far as the Japan map, the things that make it different, again, from my understanding, I like these sea lanes.
So the sea lanes are part of the original. So
just not to this degree.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I've already mentioned this flexibility up here. My understanding in the base game is that you've got the 2 cards you can take, and that's it.
Right. Yeah, and mystery meat as well. And so you have it right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a little more focus on the ships, which is I think is reasonable. We all built at least one ship, and I think that's exactly what you get out of this map. Which because in New England, I've seen games where not every ship location is built, and here I think you just happen. It should happen.
Yeah,
because that's where that coal and iron is, and there's opportunity to sell to the market. Later in the game, as you saw that happen at least 3 or 4 times.
How about you, Martin?
Yeah, I really liked it. I mean, I'd heard some iffy things about the map, and I was a bit concerned that we might have been going too tight. It was definitely not too tight.
I'll be honest. I think it would have been fine at 5. I think 5. Again, having not done it and now having experienced it, I think the 5-player experience would give us the feel that we expected to get tonight from this.
In this context, what does tight even look like?
Tight just means that and like. Okay, this didn't really get built at all, and Scott in chat is saying somebody usually builds up here and then
if this port is built, then this opens up this, which can
right, and then race down here, or even coming down here opens this up. So the game could play out differently, but with a 5th player, everything's getting built, and it's not going to be oh, one area is going to get no, everything's going to just
not going to be the Paul zone up there that no one.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. At least that's what I anticipate.
Right. I think you were probably affected, like when I built over in Tokyo and that gray city.
Well, I didn't have the gray cards. I couldn't get the gray cards for Osaka. But anyway, as you were saying, you said it wasn't as tight as you expected.
It wasn't as tight as I expected. And I like the sound of, again, some of the tweaks here. The card market was just a little bit different to what you used to from the other game. The market kind of behaves differently. Coal is just ridiculously cheap the whole time, of course, because the way the market's structured is that way. Iron kind of varied a little bit, but we got enough ships going that we had plenty of iron.
And it made rail much more valuable, right? Because the $3.
That was my plan. Because with that and the 3 points on the track, I reckon that rail would be worth building more often.
Yeah.
I actually delayed building ships because when the market hadn't got much for it, I was thinking, is it really? I wanted to wait. The only ship I ended up building I'd got a good return from, but I thought that was interesting, and I wonder what it might have happened if other people had been slower to build the ships just because they weren't getting enough
return on the right.
Because it's not a great return for investment if you're building a ship and the markets are full, right?
Right. I built I went aggressively into ships early because I wanted to get the 4-point ship out, right?
Right.
Which
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a good point scorer.
It also opens up the opportunity to sell to the factory locations without having to wait for someone to build a port.
Right.
The high level ports.
Yeah.
Provided it remains for your turn to come back around. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, and as ever, I just really enjoy this system. So this was another variation on the theme and a nice variation. I like the fact that we had to think differently about how we get coal and iron in through the ships.
Right.
That was nice. I like the fact that the ships operated this parallel network to the fact that the way the rail was working. And I think to me there was enough difference on this to the New England map, but it felt different enough, but similar enough, just exactly the way you want that kind of variation within the system.
Again, an Age of Steam-esque variation on the map.
Yeah.
Again, the rules, there. Could be clearer in there. But the point is, it's a couple of paragraphs, right? So it takes that hallmark Age of Steam and just throws a couple of MacGuffins on it with a new map, and that's that, right? But overall, I'd totally be down to play this again tomorrow.
And well,
I don't want to play a different map, but
it's.
I know. Here's the thing, like
I'll play this map again, certainly.
Yeah,
I want to get through all the other maps.
Well, I hear you, but like I would like to stream this at 5.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not saying we need to do that before we play the other maps. I'm just. I mean, to be able to compare and contrast it, right?
Exactly.
Like this is the, again, it was way looser than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And again, it could be a group dynamic, it could be a group think dynamic, and it could be a first play dynamic, but it wasn't as constricting as I thought it would be.
There was a couple of times when, I hadn't built any rail yet, and someone built. So you built between Nagoya and I can't read that.
Kanazawa.
So you built that.
Yeah. Because I was like, that's going to be,
I was seriously. I really wanted to get there, and then Martin, I think you did that, or like Martin did this or something, and these were all opportunities. I was like, I really wanted to get there. It just wasn't lining up with what I was doing at the time. So,
and same with me in Osaka.
So the rail is where things are going to be tight, and if you don't get in the rail, you gotta get the location cards.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're gonna be locked out of places.
What happens if you don't do either of those things?
Then you have to use both actions to build in a location, and hope to get out. Like that's the reason I built in Tokyo and then built the rail out of Tokyo is because I felt like I was going to get boxed in a bit.
Yeah.
If I didn't build our rail to get up here and get some opportunities in this area. So. I think with 5, it would definitely be rougher in that regard, and it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm totally down for it.
So going back to something I think we said in our other earlier games, we played Brass Birmingham over the weekend, and it's always a great experience. That was a 3-hour game. We all know the game, so it was a 3-hour game. This is less. This is always going to be.
Oh yeah, this is 2 hours with the teach.
Yeah.
Teach, but you get the like an Aegis theme teach. Okay, what's different in this?
Yeah. So if you want something that's, I would say it's a bit lighter.
Oh, it's simpler.
Yeah.
It's also for somebody that thoroughly enjoys brass, but doesn't play it regularly enough. There's enough of a okay. What can I do with these cards? Yeah. Whereas this one is just simpler from a rules getting out of the way standpoint. Mm-hmm. But I still feel like there's a lot of really meaningful and deeper decisions in this. So for somebody that doesn't play brass all the time, this might be sacrilegious, but I almost think I enjoy Age of Industry more.
You enjoy the experience, even though brass is probably you consider a better game, maybe.
Yeah. Because this is easier to come back to after having not played it in X amount of months or years. It's just easier to start back up and get back into the flow of things. Whereas if the four of us were to sit down and play brass, I have no chance. I just have none. And I know that coming in because I don't have that experience. And I spend far more time playing the game, relearning how and what I can and can't do, as opposed to what can I do from a strategic standpoint. Whereas this, I get into that much quicker.
Yeah, 3 of us have haven't played Birmingham in a while, and Martin crushed us also.
You let me build a lot of railway.
Well, no, and again, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That experiential difference, I think, is lesser in this. I think still there, but you can feel more competitive in this. It's at least that's from my standpoint.
Yeah.
Based on kind of our talking a little bit about the history of the brass system and Age of Industry. If Age of Industry in some form or another didn't get reprinted and maybe get a chance to get reintroduced to a new audience, I think it would be kind of a shame. I think it would be because this is the Japan map, so it's a variation on what is a streamlining of an established system. But sometimes it makes you wonder how many rules do I really need to have a good time? And I think Age of Industry makes the case that maybe you don't need as many as you think. And I think it'd be a shame if Age of Industry were relegated to just being passed around in secondhand copies forever.
Yeah, I think there's a reason to have both Age of Industry and brass.
I agree.
Because they scratch two different itches, and they also look. It's heavy cardboard. We have no problem getting into brass, right? However, brass might be a step too far for some people, and I feel like Age of Industry is really good jumping off point for those people, or if you just want a shorter playtime.
Yep.
Right? I mean, this is a perfect school night game. And I'm sure there are people out there like, look, brass is a 2-hour game. It shouldn't be 3 hours. Yeah, if you play it on the regular.
Yep. I mean, it's 3 hours for us, wasn't it? We know the game pretty reasonably well.
So
it took us 3, and that's fairly typical. And yes, that definitely makes time. This is a fine part of the brass family. I just want to see the brass family expand in lots of different ways. Yeah. I mean, I think the limiting factor on this system is I don't think varying the map is enough variation, because I think there's a lot of interesting variation in the industry. So I can definitely imagine games where they change the industries around, they do different things with the way the industry progression works. It would still be basically the same game, but you've got another point of variation that is interesting. And I think taking that and running with it, you could lead to a similar situation where you have with 18XX, where people are taking a basic system and then doing little tweaks on it, and then at the same time applying that historical thing to it. I mean, one of the things I loved about when I was in my wargaming days, in my very young ago days, is I enjoyed the history part of it. And I was frustrated by the fact that all the history was war games. There was never history of other
civilization stuff.
Development.
Right, yeah.
This is a history of economic development. Okay, simplified and all the rest of it, but like war games are usually simplified. It's a nicely simplified picture of economic development, and I think, and we've seen that with some of the things that people have done with Age of Industry, or someone says, the guy who did the Portugal map has said, I know a bit about the development of industry in Portugal, and I'll make a Portugal map for that. And I really would like to see more of that kind of, here's a system that you can work. Doesn't necessarily have to be Industrial Revolution. I think it's any time period where you are building up some kind of goods that are being moved around and the links to move them around.
Yeah, and you
can make that any time period, because economic development tends to flow in that kind of way. So I think there's lots of possibilities.
And it could be, and again, look, we're not designers, we're not developers and all that stuff, but it could be as simple as moving some of these around on here, like as far as that, but so player board wise, but it does come out to then you need chits and all that, but I think there is the potential for that, and there is, I think, the market for it, but somebody's got to actually do it.
Yeah, yes. I mean, if there's enough market to have the quite respectable cottage industry of 18xx going, I've got to imagine there's got to be a similar market for brass, because there's a lot more people who play brass than play 18xx.
It's a good thing.
So make it happen, people.
Yeah, it's a good thing the developer has a new upstart company that's getting off the ground. That Wallace Designs. How many games did Wallace Designs make?
So far, I think he's at 3 or 4, but Martin's designed and developed a number of 1 or 2 over the years.
This up-and-coming Martin Wallace.
But yeah, no, I don't, honestly, I don't think it'd be him. I think it would be somebody like, the Roxley, the Eagles, the whatever that might be, to basically have a group of these things, and then boom, here we go. Like, I seriously, look, I understand there might be rights involved in all of this stuff, but to be able to get all the maps, that's a Kickstarter waiting to happen. Right there. For Age of Industry, you got 6 or 7 maps already designed.
Well, you need the base game. Because,
yeah. So I don't know what all that would entail, but I'm just saying, like, and I think the market's there for it. That would be exciting. And if there's that, then you have potentially what happens with Age of Steam, 18xx, and it just builds from there, I would hope. So anyway, that's it. That's Japan. Next, you know what? Hold on. Before we do this,
flip it.
Yeah, here. So here's the other side of the map, Minnesota. It's a bigger map, but it feels sparser. I don't know. It feels.
And there's a bit more MacGuffin to it as well, from what I remember.
Yeah,
there's a call from Chicago and all sorts of strange things going on.
Right. So anyway, this is probably our next one.
Right, that's the only call. There are ships, but there are also markets over here on this side of the board.
Yeah, you can sell your goods to Fargo.
Iron markets. I've played this map. I know I have, but I don't remember.
Demand up there.
Yeah. So apparently Rome doesn't demand a lot of iron. Anyway, so that's what we got coming up. Thanks everybody for watching. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff.
And remember that the great thing about the Japan map is we have both railways and ships. So that's 2 ways to send your funds to us. So, thumb, like, subscribe, all that kind of thing.
Never gets old to me. Again, it's Martin Fowler to the people out there. It's just Martin to me, but it never does. So thank you. Like, subscribe, all that stuff, the thumbs, follow. Consider supporting the show, patreon.com/HCHQ. That's a wrap. We're back tomorrow with a game. Anybody remember what it is? Okay.
Ultimate Railroad.
Oh, that's right. We're doing German railroads. 4-player. That's it. So we got that coming. Some more choo-choos. And then we have 1862 remote with Alyssa coming back on Friday. So looking forward to that. Appreciate it. I'm Edward.
I'm Paul.
Shrey.
And I'm Martin.
Y'all have a good night. Take care. Thanks for watching. Later. Hey, thanks for watching, y'all. Hopefully you found it helpful, useful, enjoyed it, something along those lines. And if you did, maybe watch one of those other videos. Consider supporting us over on Patreon. And always like and subscribe. It really does help the channel. Thanks, y'all.